YouTube, hello, welcome back to Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. We're going to be going over brands today. This is a video that's been a long time coming. It's one of the more watched portions of my beginner's guide. Folks haven't seen that, it's here on the YouTube channel. I'll link at the end of the video as well. But it's one of the most probably overwhelming portions of the Ever Crisis weapon and materia stuff. We're going to go over materia in a separate video as well, but I wanted to take a moment to go over brands today. And this isn't going to be like a massive expert's guide, right? I'm certainly not the best player in Ever Crisis, but I do have a pretty decent understanding of my account, how brands work, and I wanted to share that with the folks who maybe, you know, just get the brand marks and just go, I'm not dealing with that, and move on, right? Try to make it a little bit easier for folks to be able to enjoy it, utilize it, and make their weapons more powerful. So, brands, ultimately, they're great. They're great, they add stats to your weapons, they make your weapons more powerful. They're helpful for things like even clearing higher game content that you may not have been able to clear before. They're great for making your damage weapons do more damage. There's a lot of reasons why brands are good, and we're going to be going over 3 different things today. I'm going to explain exactly what brands are. I'm going to go over how to use brands, and then what I believe are the most effective brands to put on each weapon. And this will also coincide with the release of a weapon tier list that I've been keeping with for my guild. Which if you'd like to join the Cat Crew Guild, you're more than welcome to. It's open to everybody, even though it says applications. That was just so we could focus on primarily making sure that Lily's community, the Cat Crew, could get into the guild. But if you're welcome, if you like to join, if you wanted a new guild to join ahead of the guild battle this coming week, you're more than welcome to join. We've been getting in the top 500 with about 8 to 9 people. So we're pretty solid. We're not like top 100 or anything, but we're pretty solid. We're doing pretty well. And we just like to have fun, man. So if you like to join, feel free to join. Brands are these branding stones. And what they do is they add effects, additional effects to your weapons. So it can be things like increasing its physical attack, increasing its defensive stats, increasing your HP, increasing your heal stat, or increasing the amount of damage that the weapon can deal. And I'm going to open with this first and foremost when it comes to brands. These are not necessary, right? These are not necessary for you to enjoy the game. They are not necessary for you to clear most of the game, most of the content in Ever Crisis. You do not have to use these. As you can see, I have thousands of the blue ones. I still have hundreds of the purple rarity ones. I've got even dozens of the highest rarity ones. I have not been using these as much as I should have, right? But, however, they do help you get your damage levels to higher levels to be able to clear the higher level content, things like EX battles, the crash battles. This will help you reach thresholds of power that you're not able to reach with just the weapons alone. And that's why I wanted to make a video going over them. There are 3 different types of brand stones and 3 different types of rarities. The first stone is a power branding stone. These stones are used to apply random effects. However, these stones are primarily focused on the physical side. So you're going to see an increase in stats for physical attack and physical defense. Let's actually go into the weapons really quick, because if you see it on the brand screen, you'll be able to see. Let's grab a weapon that I haven't branded yet. So let's say let's grab the Kathpalug. This is a ice sub-weapon. So if we go to brand, you can see that we've got all of our brands here on the side. So a power brand is a brand that's going to increase specifically one of these stats, but you can see that because it's a power branding stone, it has a higher chance to increase physical attack and physical defense than a magic branding stone, which has a higher chance of raising your magic attack or magic defense. And then there's also a stamina stone, which has a higher chance of increasing your HP and your heal. All of these stones also have the ability to increase your C and ultimate C or UC ability effects. So these are effectively your weapon effects. So your weapon damage and your ultimate weapon damage. It has a chance to increase your weapon damage, and it's a flat amount amongst all 3. Okay, so those are the 3 different stones, and then there are also 3 different rarities. So the lesser branding stone has a chance to increase all of these stats and has a 50% chance to give you 1 stat, a 40% chance to give you 2 stats, and a 10% chance to give you 3 stats. A regular, so this is just a standard branding stone, has a 20% chance to give you 1 slot, a 30% chance to give you 2 stats, and a 50% chance to give you 3 stats. And as you can see here in the values, the floor for the values has gone up quite a bit as well. Almost 3 times higher, I think, in every single scenario, in every single stat, right? And then for the greater branding stone, this one actually eliminates the opposite damage type. So with the physical one, you can no longer have a chance to get magic attack or magic defense. You still have HP and heal and C ability effect, but no magic focus. In the magic branding stone, the physical side has been taken out. And for the stamina branding stone, they took out both offenses. So you can't get a physical attack or magic attack, but you can get physical defense and magic defense both with your HP heal and C ability effect. And then you might be wondering yourself, well, Gary, how do you get brands? So brands are rewards typically in events, but the lesser branding stones are actually available in the Chocobo expeditions. So in the later Chocobo expeditions, when you get to the lower level of the Chocobo expeditions, you have an opportunity to send out your Chocobos to get specifically branding stones. So you can see right here in the speed square in the gold saucer, which is at the very bottom of the Chocobo exploration. You can see that you can get stamina branding stones here and magic branding stones here. And then in gold saucer 1, there's some power branding stones as well. So these are very, very easy to get, which is why you see I have so many of these. You can send a Chocobo over here. The standard brands are usually rewards in events. So things like the current Blitzrad Hunt, the Ever Crisis Academy event. These are the events that you're going to see things like the branding stones with the standard branding stones, and you can exchange the materials that you get from these events to get these branding stones and add them to your account. The greater branding stones, or the highest rarity ones, are usually rewards for high level content. So this includes clearing crash battles, clearing EX battles. That's where you're typically going to see the greater stones. You can see the EX battle gave us a stamina stone here. The crash battle gave us a stamina stone as well. So that's where you're typically going to find those greater seals. Sometimes they do it in events as well with just the standard like exchange shop, but typically speaking, it's for clearing higher level content. And that's the basic breakdown when it comes to brands. They're pretty simple overall in terms of what they do. It's pretty easy. The power stone is physical, the magic stone is magical, and the stamina stone is heal and HP. Now we're going to talk about using brands. So in order to apply a brand to a weapon, all you have to do is go into the enhance screen. You go to your enhance button here, you click weapons, you scroll to the weapon that you're looking for. So in our case, it's going to be the Cath Palug that we were talking about earlier. You click on the brand button in the top right corner here, and then you just pick whatever brand you're looking for. Now, typically, unless it is a weapon that you're absolutely sure about the stats that you are looking for, I always start with a lower brand. Always. With this one in particular, this is a magic focused weapon that is meant to boost magic attack. And for sub-weapons, we'll get into this breakdown in a sec, but for sub-weapons, I like to get just the stat. So I'd like to increase this thing's magic attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my lesser magic stones. I'm going to click use. And whenever I'm using a stone that I have thousands of, like this one, I always use 10. Whenever I'm using one of the higher rarity ones, I usually only use 3 at a time because I want to try to keep and conserve as much of the rarer ones as I can. For these ones though that are farmable, we can just throw 10 in there and not really have too much of a care. And then this screen pops up showing you all of the stats that you were offered from those 10 branding stones. From here, you're going to scroll through and you can see that each stat has a grade next to it. And that's just telling you basically where on the scale of that effect it is. So a D is as lowest as you can get and an S is the highest as you can get. So you can see that here, this is a D for C and UC ability effect. This only increases its damage by 0.4%, which takes this weapon from a 520% attack to a 522% attack. Now that still is an increase, but it's not exactly very good, right? It's not exactly what we're looking for. So really, I'm looking for magic attack. These actually rolled really, really well and increases its magic attack from 612 to 694. And with a lot of the builds that we do in Ever Crisis, there's a lot of percentage increases. So things like when you get your magic attack, like your magic attack stat up with this, you can see it increases your magic attack stat by a percentage, right? So we want to try to increase that flat amount as much as we possibly can, because as we increase that flat amount, it makes these percentages a whole lot bigger, right? Because 50% of 700 is 350, but 50% of 600 is just 300. So that's an extra 50 points of magic attack that we have now versus what we had before, which is very good. So good to increase the flat damage here, and we're gonna just go ahead and click confirm. And then you can see right behind me where it says brand. Now it'll have these brand effects here. And these brand effects, if you're ever curious what they are, because it's just a little, like, obviously it's abbreviated, you can just click this icon here. It shows you exactly what the brand effects are on this weapon. Very simple. So generally speaking, like I said before, you want to use the branding stone that matches the item you're trying to upgrade. Damage focused weapons should either have power or magic brands. Utility weapons should use the brand of their type. So like in this case, this is a magic focused weapon. So we used a magic focused branding stone, just because it lines up and it has a slightly higher chance of getting it. That doesn't mean, by the way, if you have a ton of these power branding stones, you can use 10 of these and you still have a chance to roll magic attack, right? So if I scroll down here, that of course this time I actually didn't roll any magic attack, but there is a chance for this to roll magic attack, right? And then if you roll 10 more, by the way, you can keep the one that you have by just clicking on this one and clicking the retain button. Healing weapons should usually be given the stamina brand. So those are the ones that increase your HP, increase your heal. As we've talked about multiple times in the past, especially when I go over our guild battle videos, the utility characters and the healing characters in this game, they have to do damage as well. So it is not bad for those healing weapons to also have some magic attack. But if you're looking to try to increase your heal or try to increase their tankiness, using stamina brands is the way to go. Generally speaking, you should feel very comfortable throwing a lesser brand on a new weapon. Even if it doesn't roll well, having something on a weapon is better than nothing. So even if you were looking for, say, magic attack and it ends up rolling physical attack instead, that's not what you were looking for, but that does increase the damage of your limit breaks and your summons. So it's not a useless stat. There are no real useless stats in Ever Crisis, and that's the reason why these brands are so good. So it's better than nothing, right? And although the initial work is a lot, once you have brands on all of your weapons, all you have to do is add a brand to the new weapons that are coming out, and it makes it a lot easier to keep that upkeep going. All right, so that's how you use brands. And now we're gonna go over what brands you should put on each weapon. When we're talking about specific increase to weapons, there's always gonna be a more efficient stat for each weapon. That said, any increase is better than nothing, as I said before. So don't be upset if you roll something that you're not supposed to have. If you're looking for C ability, but you end up getting physical attack, that's still good for your physical weapon. Don't be afraid to just click the physical attack brand and be happy that you got something that increases your damage. When you're looking at a weapon, you should evaluate whether you're planning on using the weapon for a damage or as a sub weapon. There are a lot of weapons in this game, like the Cathpaloob, that is typically not used as a damage weapon. Even though this does 520% area of effect magic damage, Vincent is a very good magic damage dealer. There are better ice weapons in the game that can utilize this weapon's R abilities better than Vincent can actually deal damage with the ice damage. So in this case, I'm not concerned about increasing the damage on this, so C ability, where it would normally be important on a damage focused weapon, is not important for me in this particular weapon in general. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, I do have a spreadsheet, which the link to the sheet is in the description, that I'm making public today that is strictly my subjective opinion. This is my opinion based on how I feel about each weapon, the brands that I think are good for each weapon, and how I feel that weapon is for each character. If you have any questions about the spreadsheet, or if you're confused about how I grade things within the spreadsheet, feel free to let me know. I tried to include like an explanation and all the tabs to make sure that it's very easy to follow, but it's just meant to be a guide more than a, you have to do this, this must be followed. It's just to help you understand, you know, in the case of Tifa, right? The Class President's Bracelet is an S tier weapon because it is a weapon that does a lot of damage while also providing a great team-wide utility effect. And S on my spreadsheet doesn't mean best weapon in the game that you must have. No. It's one of the best weapons on Tifa for the effects that it provides and the damage that it deals for that character, specifically for that character. I'm not talking about in the game state in general. I'm just talking about, can you build a character around that weapon? And if the answer is yes, that's how I feel about it, and I put it as an S in the list. So on this spreadsheet, you can see that I classify each weapon as either a damage, support, etc. You'll see that there's a classification type for all of the weapons. And then those classifications are as follows. A damage weapon, as you would expect. This is a weapon that has a primary focus in dealing damage to the enemy. Although it may have some secondary effects, the main goal of the weapon is just to hit as hard as you can. A support tag means that these weapons are buffing and debuffing weapons that support your team's ability to take or deal damage. These are weapons like Bald Eagle, which is an ice resist debuffing weapon that just does non-elemental physical damage. Healing weapons, pretty self-explanatory. These weapons are focused primarily on healing your party. Sub-weapons, like Cathpaloob, are weapons that are generally only used for their R abilities to increase your character's ability to deal damage of that type. Although they have an effect attached, it's usually less useful in an active slot outside of providing R abilities to the equipped character. So as an example, Yuffie has a shuriken. I don't remember the name of the shuriken right now, but there's a shuriken that does AoE physical wind damage. And by itself, it's just okay. It's fine. It does an okay AoE damage. It's not a great weapon though. But what it does do is it provides boost attack and boost wind potency for Yuffie's 2 great wind weapons in Diner Tray and Holiday Bell. So it's a great offhand weapon for those 2 in particular. Obviously, she also has Exploit Weakness now, which is generally speaking the most efficient way to deal damage, but the point stands. It's not used primarily as a damage weapon. It's used primarily for its R abilities. And so in that case, we would mark that as a sub weapon. And then I have another tag called multi, and I said, and I labeled those as multi because they are multifaceted weapons that do many things at once. So a great example of that is the Class President's Bracelet, because it also does heavy wind damage while increasing your entire team's physical attack, meaning that it's a support weapon and also a damage weapon. So you could convince me that you could build that out for just wind damage, or you could put physical attack brands on it and use it as Tifa's your utility character that just increases your entire team's physical attack. It can be used both ways. And so for each of those types, I'm going to go over what I think each of those type of weapons should have. Let's start with Gauntlets of the Worthy. This is a weapon that was just released back at the half anniversary and is a weapon that was focused purely on dealing damage. It also increased your entire team's earth damage, which is great. But the idea here was that this was the strongest earth weapon in the game, right? So as the strongest earth weapon in the game, I wanted to give it C ability increases, and I managed to roll pretty lucky, if I'm being honest. We ended up getting, this is the max is 3%, 2.7% is obviously very high, and then 1.4% is also very high. It's not great, obviously, as you can see, it's a B, so it's somewhere right in the middle, but combined, this ends up being over 7% additional damage. And you're thinking, well, Gary, that doesn't add up though, right? Because if I look at the gloves, they only go up to a 1,120%. Yes, but it's 7% of this number. So 7% of this number brings it from 1120 to 1199, increasing its damage by almost 80%, which is a massive increase. So whenever you're looking at damage weapons in particular, you should be looking at C ability increase. Obviously, you also want to try to get any brands that coincide with the damage type. So if it's a physical damage weapon, physical attack is great. Support weapons, such as Locksword, you should probably be looking for brands that are going to increase that damage type. So in this case, for Locksword, the damage types that it increases are fire damage, ice damage, and lightning damage for Cloud. Those damage types for Cloud are physical, physical, and physical. So as a result, I would want to take this weapon, go to Enhance, brand it, and try to look for specifically physical attack brands. The reason why is this will now increase its ability to then deal damage with its physical damage type. For some reason, the brand wasn't showing up. That must have been a glitch. But you can see here, I've got a pretty good brand here with the physical attack. It also increases the C ability effect, which isn't that big of a deal at the end of the day. But like, you know, it's there. So we'll keep that brand effect. That's all there. That's what I would use for support weapons. I also like to do defensive stats on these. So things like Kimura Wand as an example. I like to have defensive stats on items like those, simply because those characters are trying to survive while they're dealing a whole lot of damage. So that's why you're going to see even on Stalwart Integrity, I have a couple of heal stat increases here. This is just to help Angeal's heal stat, which is otherwise pretty lackluster with his available weapons, so that he can have a pretty decent single target heal while also dealing this physical defense increase. Healing weapons should prioritize C ability increase, which might come as a bit of a surprise, but these healing weapons also have the ability to have their heal stat increased by C ability increase. So if we go down, let's go all the way down to our bread and butter here. Let's go down to Bahamut Rod. So if I go to brand this and I go and grab these brands, let's just throw 10 in here for the sake of the video. And I just want to see C ability increase. So C ability increase. So you can see here that right now it heals for a 54% healing potency. If I add this 2.7%, it increases to 56%. Now, is that a huge difference? No. It's obviously only a couple of percentage points. It's not that big of a deal, which is why I took this one that had 2 pretty decent heal stats and an HP stat, which is also very good for the healing weapons. But C ability increase does increase your ability to heal with those weapons. And so if you're finding yourself wanting to have a bigger heal, maybe increasing the actual heal percentage with your already very high heal stat will increase it up as well. There's different ways to do it. It's however you prefer to do it. Just make sure that you're trying to build this out the best way you can for what your account is looking for. And then finally, we have sub-weapons. Sub-weapons should prioritize the offensive brand that coincides with its primary holder, while also adding on defensive brands. If it's used for the R abilities that are supportive effects, you can also consider HP or heal, though I'd prefer flat defensive stats over heal and HP brands. You're gonna see a lot of high-level accounts. Like if you go right now to the max damage challenges, you're gonna see a lot of high-level accounts that are just focused on dealing as much damage as humanly possible, right? You go to the rankings, you go to any one of these, and if you check any of their brands, you're going to see C ability, right? You're going to see physical attack. You're going to see exactly what, right? Same thing all over that. Physical attack. It just happened to roll defense, right? Sub weapons, you see magic attack, right? All damage focus. Here's some defense as well. And then here you're seeing a more attack, right? The defense is on there and it's nice to have, but you can see like, the magic defense for this character is 125 points, right? The physical defense for this character is 132 points. When the thing is not fighting back, that's fine, right? It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. You don't need those defensive stats for the max damage challenge. You want to do as much DPS as possible. Absolutely cool with that, right? Generally speaking, for events like the Battle Tower, as an example, which is out right now, or the Battle Tower that's the permanent content, going in with just pure damage is not going to win you the fight. You are not going to be able to clear all 25 floors of this first clash with just offense. It's just not going to happen. Unless your offense is insanely powerful and you're like fully pay to win everything OB10, you are not going to be able to clear this Masamune fight on B25 with a pure offensive build. You're going to have defensive stats. And so that's why I think that brands that include physical defense and magic defense are so vital, because they are flat increases to a stat that we don't have any other way to increase their flat number besides materia, right? So we only have a way to increase physical and magic defense with materia and brands. And then all of the increases that we get from boost physical defense, outfit abilities are all percentage increases. So increasing that flat number by a lot, again, much like magic attack, physical attack, etc., makes those percentages give you a lot more stats in return. So you definitely don't want to undervalue the physical and magic defense brands, because I feel like they are very, very important when trying to increase the overall power level of your team. And that's pretty much brands. Like I said, this is not a this isn't meant to be very much like a comprehensive guide. This is more just to kind of, you know, take away some of the overwhelming bit of this. And like I said, whenever you're trying to get a weapon up, and let's say I just take the brand new weapon that Aerith just got, right? The water weapon that she just received. We're gonna go to Aerith, and I'm gonna go to her team leader bamboo sword. And I'm just gonna grab this, and I don't have a brand on it yet. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take my magic brands, and I'm just gonna go in and see what we get. And then when I'm looking at this, I see, all right, we got a physical attack and magic attack. That's not that great. 1.8% isn't a huge increase, but it does increase the damage by a bit. Got some magic attack here, and it's like, these are all just kind of okay. I'm just gonna click confirm. And then it adds that brand on, and you're like, all right, like that increased the damage a little bit, but that wasn't very impressive. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's try again and see if we can find something better. Hey, this one increases my magic attack and my C ability. That's not too bad. Magic defense all the way around. This is pretty good, right? Being able to get 13 magic defense is pretty good. And nothing else is super impressive. So I'm actually just going to take this 13 magic defense. Is it something that makes this weapon super better? No, but it also increases Aerith's survivability in magic-based stages, which is still useful, right? So don't get overwhelmed by this. Don't worry about trying to hyperfixate on trying to get the most efficient brand on every single weapon, because ultimately if you do that, you're just not going to have fun with it, right? And that's the end all be all, is like, this is a game. Just have some fun, man. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the game. Have some fun with it. Put some stuff on here. And then when you roll something like I did, as an example, and you end up getting 3 C abilities for your very, very good brand new OB10 weapon, that's something you can just be excited about, right? And just be happy that you got something cool like that and you move on, right? So enjoy the game. If you all have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you share it with a friend, man. Hopefully this will help some folks with the brand system. I am going to go over a whole video with, you know, building out materia, like the best stats and stuff for materia, the way that I use materia personally. And yeah, hope everybody enjoys the spreadsheet. I hope it helps some folks, you know, get an idea of kind of where I feel about certain weapons and stuff. And again, as I said at the beginning, this is my subjective opinion when it comes to the weapons. Don't read this as law. Don't read it as something that you have to do. Like, if I say S, that means you must pull on that. That is not how that spreadsheet is meant to be. It is meant to be a guide to tell you where you can utilize your resources the best, right? I just want to have everybody enjoy the game as best as they can, and I'm trying to help you guys with that with videos like this and spreadsheets like that. So I hope you all enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you again in the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye!